So speaking of masks, what has been the challenge of our COVID world from your perspective? The hospitality industry has been getting killed. By the way, I have to give a shout out to Dave Portnoy at Barstool. Yeah, so Dave Portnoy, Chef Andrew Gruel, he's been doing a fund for restaurant people. And our boy Guy Fieri, Frosted Tips, Lamborghini, right? He stepped up to the plate. And that's the thing. The restaurant community really came together for each other during this whole thing. And it's been tough, and it's not over yet. It's been a long slog. And it's, I don't know, it's kind of, it's hard to talk about, right? Because, so here's the thing. I am, as a leader, as somebody who leads a team of individuals for a living, I know that sometimes I just have to make a decision. And there's going to be some people that are pissed off at me, and there's going to be some people that are happy with me, right? And in that moment, I got to take all the data points that I have, and I have to make a decision. And sometimes I get it right. Hopefully more times than not, I get it right. Other times I get it wrong, right? But that's what they pay me to do. At a certain point, there's got to be somebody at the top, some head honcho that says, okay, this is what we're doing. This is the path forward. So I have a lot of empathy for all of our leaders on all sides of the aisle early on in this thing. No one knew what it was. No one knew how to get around it. No one knew how long it was going to go on for, right? And it's really unfair for us to play armchair quarterback on any of that stuff, right? Because people, to kind of back up, 2017 I opened up the Renaissance Hotel in Reno as their executive chef. Has 2 restaurants, has the Shore, has Boondocks Bocce, which is like a sports bar concept, and we have a big banquet hall, and we do quite a bit of revenue through it. So we kind of like built this team over time. Right in 2019, like the finishing touches on the team were complete. We went to our hotel groups, which has about 40 different hotels in North America. We went to their award ceremony. We got, for the food and beverage department, we won most profitable and also best guest experience, which are the 2 awards. So not only were we the most profitable food and beverage department in the company across 40 hotels, but we also had our the highest guest satisfaction scores, and that meant a lot to me, right? So that's 2019, great year for us, and then we go into 2020. January, February is off to an amazing start. We start to hear these rumblings about this COVID thing. March rolls around. I preemptively say, hey, look, guys, this might kind of turn into a thing. So what we're going to do, so I go to my managers and I say, we need to cut labor 30% across the board. We're not laying anybody off, right? It's February and March is a bit of a slower time for us anyways. So we're going to cut from 20% to 30% across the board, but we're going to kind of space it out. We're going to give some people some vacation times. We got a lot of vacation and paid time off built up in the banks for a lot of our people that have been around for a while. So it wasn't really going to be a big deal. We're going to be able to flex down and weather the storm. And we had that conversation literally the first week of March. Okay, March 17th we get shut down. It's just everyone go home. And I'm standing in front of, and it's brutal because I had, at that time, I had roughly 100-ish employees in my department. And God, it's hard to even talk about it. That day, I had to stand in groups, right? Because we'd bring in the servers from the Shore and the servers from Bocce and, the cooks in. So like that entire day, I'm standing in front of these people, laying them off en masse. And it was just the most ruthless thing I've ever had to go through, especially since we were flying so high. I was fucking devastated. And these people, they've worked so hard for us, so hard. And just say, everyone just go home, right? And then they said, it's 2 weeks to stop the spread. But I'm like, that's not going to happen. So we had our recall date basically a month and a half later. Said, hey, so we have to temporarily lay you guys off. We're going to recall you in a month and a half. And it just, it was awful. So anyways, at the 11th hour, okay, I'm talking to the GM of the hotel, and I say, hey, I need to keep on a couple of managers. I got to keep on my head front of the house manager, and I got to keep on my manager, Chef Sean, who you guys know. I got to keep him on in the back. I got to keep these two guys for at least the next 2 weeks, because this is a big hotel. We got a ton of kitchen space. We got to go through. We got to shut everything down, right? We got to button it up properly. So that was the plan. And at the very last minute, our director of sales and marketing, she says, hey, we have these airline crews that are being displaced from the casinos, which are completely shutting down. So they normally they're normally priced out of our hotel because we're just a little bit, we're a higher end sort of business travelers hotel. The casinos have, anywhere from 800 to 2,000 rooms. So they have a lot of rooms to fill, whereas we have 214. It's a little more boutique-y of a hotel, right? So normally they're priced out of the market, but now the market's completely dead. The casinos are shutting down, and we have these airline pilots that are flying for UPS and FedEx, and and they need a place to stay. So, Chef, can you guys offer them food to go in their rooms? And we said yeah. So we were able to struggle through that, and I kept on my front of the house manager Barry and Sean, and for the next 3 months. We were basically there working 12 to 14-hour shifts, right? Two of us were there at all times. We would open up for breakfast. We'd be there all the way through dinner. And we're just cooking these airline pilots, pizza and burgers and stuff. Because we built this big machine, right? The worst thing we can do is shut that machine down and not keep the parts moving at least a little bit, right? So it was a last minute Hail Mary godsend save for us to at least keep this sort of machine moving, so that way when we started to open back up, we'd have something that was somewhat functioning for our staff to come back to, right? It's really, really hard to open up a food and beverage program that large from a dead stop, okay? So I was really lucky. And we were able to do that. So in mid-June, I believe, like June 15th, when the restrictions were started to alleviate, we were opening back up, and we were able to bring some people on. I projected that we were going to do I think $30,000 in the first month. A normal month for us is $500,000 to $800,000, depending upon the time of the year. And we actually did $130,000 that first month, which was great, even at the smaller capacities. We just had people coming in and get to-go food, and people sitting out on our patio. We had a really nice patio right there on the Truckee River. So it started working out really well for us. But and then with the whole mask thing, I mean, it's not for me to say we're just following guidelines, right? But I will say that cooking on a hotline with a mask, or running around a restaurant all day with a mask is really, really difficult. It's not fun. I know there's a lot of people who have to wear masks all day long in their job, so we're not anything special, right? I'm not asking for any sort of extra empathy. But man, if you've ever been in a 110-degree kitchen, cooking hotline with a mask over your face, it really, really blows. So it's actually, if you go to my Instagram page, at Chef Jacob, you'll see I posted a little funny meme yesterday. I thought it was funny because now the CDC is saying that they recommend 2 masks. I'm just like, oh, God damn it, now I got double mask. So they haven't told us that we have to double mask on the line yet, but it might be coming down the pipeline, which I hope not, because wearing one is really tough. Wearing two is just gonna choke you out. It's gonna be hard. So anyway, so we're actually doing pretty good, and then we go into October. There's a little bit of like a resurgence with the COVID spike, and then November things get really bad, but we're still actually doing really strong. Our business is good, but then they give us new restrictions of 25% capacity, and tables of 4. So that really sort of shut us down. We were able to struggle through, but like December, so going into December for at least our area, that is the busiest month by far, because we do a lot of holiday parties and gatherings and things like that. Obviously holiday parties were out this year, but at the time they did allow smaller group gatherings, so we had some of those on the books. But when the governor came out and he said, and this is not to blame, offer any blame, right? It's just this is how it happened. When he comes out and says, "Hey, COVID's getting worse. We can't do tables of 8 anymore. We got to drop to tables of 4, and you guys got to go down to 25% capacity." Not only did that limit what we were able to do, but it really threw cold water on everybody's sort of spirit and willingness to dine out. Okay. Now, what's frustrating about this whole situation is the fact that as things continue to progress, I really, and again, I'm biased, right? You gotta look at it through a filter, okay? But I really feel like restaurants are an easy scapegoat, okay, to blame things on. It's hey, we don't know, this COVID thing is spreading. We can't stop it. We're putting things in place. It's not working. It must be the restaurant's fault. It must be everyone gathering together. And people that are packing into nightclubs and getting drunk and hanging and kissing and all that sort of stuff, right? Like, you might have an argument there, but when you have people spread out in a well-ventilated area, or you're doing outside dining, I guarantee you, okay, grandma can't keep you from getting salmonella on Thanksgiving, right? So what do you think is more likely? You coming into my restaurant and getting COVID with all of the procedures that we have in place with a 4-top, or going to grandma's house for Thanksgiving? I mean, I'm not saying don't go to grandma's house, but let's be a little more realistic about this stuff. And they come at you and they say, "Oh, don't worry, guys. We're all in this together." Okay. But you shut down. You shut down one of the largest industry in the world, right? But in the United States, that's what I know of. So one of the largest industries in the world. You shut that down for months and months and months, and then you let politics get in the way of actually offering anything that looked like relief. And most of these people didn't even want relief. Most of them, like, I don't want checks. Most of my people don't want checks. I mean, who doesn't like free money, right? But what we want is we want to go to work and earn a living and be sustained. Now the point that I'm getting to on this is, the other day we had a health inspection. And this is our second health inspection during the COVID era. Actually, technically third. When we opened back up a couple months into it, my normal health inspector came in, my normal food guy came in, and he inspected us. And everything was good, right? We always ace our health inspection tests, or our it's not tests. They come in, they look, they observe. So we always ace our health inspections. And you can see all that stuff publicly online. So what happened is, when they shut down all of these restaurants, what they, I think, failed to realize is all these restaurants pay these inspection fees to the local health department, right? And that's a big part of their revenue, and they pay these business fees as well. When those restaurants go away, they now need more fees. So the first time they came in, they dinged us for a few things, and they levied $3,000 of fines, and it was just a money grab, right? It was totally shitty. So we make some adjustments. We do a lot of staff training and yada yada yada. Okay. Then last week, I have 3 health inspectors coming to our property to inspect the hotel and inspect our restaurant areas. And normally when they come in, they're wearing like, business casual. They got a lanyard. They're really low key, okay? Because, you don't want to give the wrong impression to guests that are there actively eating that you got health inspectors poking around. For the first time in my career, this guy, one of the health inspectors comes in wearing a blue jacket with yellow lettering that said health department on it, which is like what you would see in like a DEA raid, like those blue jackets, like that. It's like, so he's like health department on it. Like it looks like we're getting raided by the health department. These guys come in and they start poking around, telling us everything looks good. Oh, that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. Right. That looks good. All right, cool. Awesome. It's a partnership. It's a partnership between the restaurant and the health department to keep our customers safe. Then a few days later, they send us $4,000 worth of fines, right? One of them was $500 for not having paper hand towels in one of my 20 sinks. I literally, in this property, I have 20 hand washing sinks around in my various kitchens. They found one in a basement banquet kitchen that we hardly even use, right? That didn't have paper towels in the dispenser. And on the other side of that kitchen, there was a hand sink with paper towels in the dispenser. Normally, this is a, hey, chef, that dispenser needs towels. Will you fix that? And they write on the thing, it's a fixed on spot, and it doesn't cost you any points. It's not a big deal, okay? I've never in my life gotten a $500 fine for not having towels in a dispenser. Also, they don't understand these brand new health inspectors I've never seen in my life, right? They're obviously new trainees. They don't understand the difference between sanitizing and disinfectant. Disinfectant is a much higher grade of killing germs and bacteria that you don't actually use in restaurants for medical grade equipment, right? Because when you actually use enough chemicals to disinfect something for like surgical gear, right? You leave too much residue on there that just then has a secondary cleanup process to be food safe, right? So in restaurants, we sanitize. So we had this whole training program on how we properly sanitize. We walked them through it. They didn't say anything while they were there, right? And then they then in the fine that they gave us for $1,000, they said that we're not using the sanitizer properly. Instead of spraying it on the table and leaving it for 60 seconds before wiping, we need to leave it for 10 minutes, right? Which is total bullshit. They don't even understand the sanitizer that they're dinging us on. So we're fighting them on that. And then there's just some other like just really bizarre stuff. Here's my point. You want to shut down our entire industry for the better part of a year, right? Then you want to say, hey, we're in this together. We're a team. And then you send your health department to my restaurant in a pure money grab, right? In a pure money grab. Has nothing to do with customer safety, right? Fuck you. Like really. We're supposed $4,000, okay? In a environment where we've been getting hammered for the last 11 months and profit margins are notoriously slim. Now, I'm one of the more luckier ones, right? I have decent revenues and I have a machine that does decent profits. Okay? But we're going to do about $200,000 in revenue this month, maybe a little bit more. Okay? $4,000, that's 2% of profit points. That's 2% of my revenue, right? So you come in your bullshit DEA jackets, right? When it says health department, you smile in my face, and then you say, yeah, we're going to take 2% of your fucking profit margins, right, for some hand towels and a disinfectant that we don't understand, even though you technically are following the CDC guidelines. And then we have people start wanting to talk about how we're all in this together. So yeah, there's a little bit of anger there, and there's a little bit of frustration there. But here's the thing, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. We're not victims, okay? We're leaders. And I'm talking specifically to my restaurant people right now. We're leaders. We got to lead our teams out of this. We got to lead our industry out of this. This is a really rough time. And everyone who gets out on the other side of this is going to be stronger and better and more honed for the future. The people who had stayed working through this entire process, you're just going to be that much of a better chef. So you can be frustrated, you could be angry, but you cannot fall into that victim mentality, that victim mindset, because when you do that, you're then giving power to other people. Okay, that's part of the victim mindset. So instead, you gotta take that power back, and you gotta lead your teams out of this. A really great book that I love, that I read early on my career, is called The Obstacle is the Way. And the gist of this book is basically whatever you want is on the other side of that obstacle. And so many people quit. And a line that he has in the book that I'm paraphrasing because it's been a while since I read it, but it really resonated with me, is the final mile. Or no, it was more something like, resistance is greatest near the finish line. And that really resonated with me, because you come against these obstacles, you hit it, you want to quit, right? You get frustrated, you want to just go home and lick your wounds, but you got to have that voice in the back of your head that says, hey, you're getting closer. You're getting closer to that finish line, because resistance is always the hardest, always the most difficult as you near that finish line. You go out, you run a marathon, mile 1, mile 2, mile 10, right? Mile 26, that's the real mile, right? Where you got to dig down, you got to find that fortitude. So it's been a tough road. I can only give you the perspective of the restaurant industry. I know that there's many other industries out there that are having a tough time as well. So that's not to detract from any of them. And I don't want to play armchair quarterback on people who were put in these impossible situations and had to make some decisions. But I think at this point, it would be really nice if we all just took a step back and had a little bit of common sense and a little bit of empathy, right? A little bit of empathy. If you're levying fines against restaurants for little tiny things that are obviously money grabs, I don't even know what to tell you. And that's sort of the same thing where, like, went on that whole rant about food writers the other day. I mean, there's some anger there because the food writers are starting to emerge again, the food journalists, right? They're starting to emerge again and contacting chefs about, hey, we got this upcoming spread that we want to do. Do you want to be a part of it? Do you want to, write something for us or whatever it might be, right? And because they need us chefs, they need us restaurants to create things that they can write about, so their industry as food writers is dependent on us, and in a perfect world, it's a symbiotic relationship, right? We create great stuff, they write about our creations in their own right, they're creating, and it's all good. But what I want to say, and what I hope that all of my chef friends say out there, the next time a food writer contacts you for some content and to do a spread, you say, yeah, I'd be happy to do that for you. I'd love to be a part of that. Just one quick request. What I'd like you to do is send me an article that you wrote between the time frame of March 2020 and February 2021 in defense of my industry. Just send me one article with your name on it, with that date stamp on it, where you defended my industry when it was getting fucking eviscerated, when I was laying people off en masse, when people were relapsing into drug abuse and alcohol addictions, right, because they had nothing else to do with their fucking lives, right? Where was your GoFundMe? Did you do a GoFundMe for chefs, the people who pay your fucking bills, the people who create the content that you write about, right? Where were you then? Oh, you have an article on it? Oh, you did a GoFundMe? Awesome. Let's do some business. Let's talk. You were crickets? And now that things are getting back to normal, you want to come and do a fucking spring spread on my food? You want free content? When my industry was getting fucking eviscerated by you? Not by you, but getting eviscerated with zero. All these people, they're your best friends, right? Where are the lawyers? All these lawyers that come into our restaurants, and have these highfalutin meals and do these business deals over fat bottles of wine, right? They come and they celebrate their big cases in our restaurants, right? Where were they? Where were they? None of them wanted to represent us as a group pro bono. And we got it pretty easy in Nevada. Okay, I'm in Reno. We actually got it pretty easy. California, New York, those guys got fucked. They got fucked. And they had zero representation. They had zero empathy. They had nobody fighting for them except the people within their industry. So all of these people who feed off of our industry when things are good, where were they when times got tough? And when you go out and you hire your lawyer, when you hire your PR team, right? When you do business, when people inevitably come and say, hey, would you like to advertise on our local publication? I hope you ask them those questions before you spend money with them. So, yeah. That's how I feel about that. All right. Well, a little bit clunky. I mean, we were on such a great roll with the YouTube live stream. And it's going to take some time to edit all of this stuff together. I appreciate everybody who tuned in. Jacob Burton for Congress. God, do you hate me? I wouldn't wish that shit on anybody. You kidding me right now? Oh my goodness. I want to get back. I want to get back to just cooking for people, having my team cook for people. It should, and again, it's a little bit of empathy. Okay, just a little bit of just understanding, and that goes all the way around. Okay, again, I'm not trying to play armchair quarterback on the people who were in charge during this time. They were put in an impossible situation, but at a certain time, the clock runs out. At a certain point, the clock runs out, and it's time to actually start doing some real solutions. And I know that there's some solutions in the works, right? We got a vaccine being distributed. We got, things are looking good. They're looking rosy. They're looking better than they did, 3 to 6 months ago, because we're just at a different point in this whole pandemic's life cycle, right? But there were decisions that I feel were made for my industry that were absolutely heartless. Absolutely heartless. And and they were so busy playing politics amongst themselves that they couldn't even get any sort of real help passed. We got one check at the beginning of this thing. We got another $600 10 months later. The whole thing's just fucking insulting. So restaurant people, okay, take this as a lesson. Let it sharpen your resolve and set yourself up for success. Have that rainy day fund, both personally and professionally. One of the things that got us through this is when we relaunched and the numbers were totally fucked, right? Because it's hard enough to open something up to basically launch a restaurant in normal times. We were relaunching our food and beverage program in the middle of a pandemic, right? But because we were so profitable and strong going into this, I had some accruals on the books, and these accruals were able to basically, so these prepaid expenses I had kind of sitting almost like in a savings account on the P&L, I was able to use those to smooth over the rough patches in our profitability when we reopened, right? So if you're a normal restaurateur, same thing goes for you, right? You need to have a rainy day fund, hopefully within 6 months of operating expenses at the least, right? Now, what COVID has told us, you probably need something more like 9, and at the very least, have some sort of personal rainy day fund. You gotta be prepared for something like this to happen, you just gotta stick together. We have to stick together in this industry because what we've seen is when something like this goes down and shit hits the fan, it's basically everybody for themselves. That's just human nature, neither right nor wrong, but it is what it is. So as an industry, we need to get together with each other. We need to help one another. We need to build one another up, and we need to call bullshit on people that that build their ecosystems off of our industry, but don't really give much in return, especially when we need them.